The Mont Blanc pen stops in my hand halfway through signing, the ink spreading across the acquisition contract like a slow-growing bruise. On the other end of my office phone, Nadine from Velvet Knot Weddings clears her throat, the kind of nervous sound people make when they're about to give bad news. I'm sorry, Miss Montgomery, she says carefully, but your family has asked that we remove you from the guest list. For a moment, I can only stare past my desk at the Seattle skyline outside my window. Usually, that view reminds me of everything I've worked for, 48 floors above the city, looking out over a place where my company now owns 18 major venues. Down below, the headlights on the highway move like tiny glowing beads, cars flowing steady and confident while I sit frozen in disbelief. There must be some misunderstanding, I manage to say, even though my fingers have started to tremble. I contributed $60,000 to my sister's wedding. Nadine hesitates. Yes, well, I was told that those funds were considered a gift, with no expectations attached. The $7 million hotel acquisition sitting in front of me, the deal that would push Montgomery Collective into its fifth state, suddenly feels meaningless. Instead of feeling proud of my accomplishment, I'm hit with the sharp sting of betrayal. On a day that should have been a major win for me, my own family has blindsided me. The money has already been allocated to the vendors, Nadine continues. Her voice tightens like she wishes she could disappear. Your parents were clear that this was something they had already discussed with you. My hand tightens around the pen, making another dark blot of ink spread across the paper. 6 months ago, I'd quietly transferred the money after overhearing Clara worrying about wedding costs during Sunday dinner. We might need to scale back, she had whispered to our mother in the kitchen. I'd pretended not to hear, stepping back into the dining room where my father was congratulating my brother-in-law on his promotion to regional sales manager. That's a real career, Dad had said proudly. But when the conversation shifted to my recent acquisition of 3 vineyard venues, Dad only chuckled. Ava's still playing event planner, but at least she's having fun. I didn't correct him. I didn't mention that my business was pulling in 8-figure revenue or expanding into 4 states. The next morning, I just wrote the check, convincing myself that one day my success would be obvious without me having to explain it. Please email me a breakdown of how my contribution was allocated, I say now, letting my voice go cool and professional, the tone I use when negotiations get difficult. And Miss Montgomery, I'm sure your parents. The email, Nadine. Itemized expenditures. Today. She swallows hard. I can hear it through the phone. Your parents assured me this was all discussed with you. I really don't want to be caught in the middle of a family. This isn't about family, I cut in. It's business. My hands stop shaking. I pull up my company's vendor database on my second monitor, my fingers moving fast, fueled by a new, sharp focus. You'll have the breakdown in my inbox within the hour, she says softly. Good. As soon as the call ends, I hit the intercom. Sophie, connect me with Rachel legally, please. Not my parents. Not Clara. Not the emotional scene they probably expect me to create. No, the Montgomery family taught me one thing. Power always speaks louder than feelings. I stand and walk to the window, pressing my palm against the cool glass. For a second, my reflection exposes the part of me I never let anyone see. The little sister still hoping for approval. The daughter whose victories never seem to count. The outsider staring into a family she belongs to only on paper. A single tear gathers, but I blink it away before it can escape. I have 20 minutes before Rachel arrives. 20 minutes to calm down and accept that my sister's wedding, something that should have brought us closer, might become the final battleground in a fight I never wanted. The Seattle skyline blurs for a moment before I force my eyes to focus again on the buildings I own. The venues where countless families celebrate their milestones. The empire I built while my own family kept acting like I was just playing around. I straighten my posture and return to my desk. The contract in front of me still waits for my signature. Growth, expansion, success. Everything I've worked for. Everything that has never been enough for them. But maybe now they won't get to ignore me anymore. A new email from Velvet Knot lands in my inbox with the cold politeness of a medical report. I open it, my fingers hovering above the keyboard, my pulse loud in my ears. As per our conversation with Thomas and Diana Montgomery, we're pleased to confirm their generous gift covering all primary vendor expenses for Clara's wedding. Their generous gift. Not mine. My hand goes to my chest, as if I'm trying to physically steady myself. I click into the vendor system. 3 steps, and the truth hits harder than the uninvitation itself. Every single wedding vendor for Clara's event is one of mine. Florence Floral, Westlake Catering, Taylor Photography, all subsidiaries or partner companies under Montgomery Collective. My phone buzzes. A group text. My parents, Clara, her fiancé, everyone except me, discussing wedding details from 3 weeks ago. A clear reminder. This wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. Arrange for the ice sculpture to arrive at 4 p.m., Mom had written. Dad replied, the Montgomery family knows how to celebrate properly. Clara added, indeed we do. All the vendors are sending termination notices. There's no mistake. I cut in before she could say more. The contracts are being followed exactly as written. But your sister's wedding. Apparently it requires my presence, I say flatly. Just not my money. I end the call and sink back into my chair, feeling the weight of everything press onto my shoulders. As the cancellation notifications start rolling in and being sent to my family, a question rises in my mind like a knot I can't swallow. Was all this success worth losing the feeling of being connected to my own family? Should I stand firm and let them deal with the consequences of how they've treated me? Or try to save the wedding and find a way to keep my dignity intact? What do you even do when the people who are supposed to value you the most keep acting like you don't matter? The answer is waiting for them in the storm that's about to hit. My family has never seen me for who I truly am. But this time they might not be able to ignore me. The next morning at the office, my phone vibrates for the 7th time in just 2 hours. Dad's name lights up the screen again, his 5th call since breakfast. I let it ring until voicemail picks up, then turn on the speaker to hear the message. Ava, this has gone far enough. His voice shakes with anger he's barely holding back. If these vendors aren't reinstated by noon tomorrow, I'm calling my attorney. You might think you're being clever, but this is criminal interference with contracts. For a second, I almost laugh. The irony is unbelievable. He's threatening to sue vendors that are owned or contracted through his own daughter's company. But the humor dies quickly when another call comes through. Mom this time. Sweetheart. She begins with that soft, sugary voice she uses when she wants something. How could you ruin your sister's special day? What kind of person does that to a family? We raised you better than this. I didn't finish the message. I stop at mid-guilt trip and stare out toward the Seattle skyline. The fog has lifted from the water, leaving the view sharp and clear, the same clarity I wish I had inside. Sophie appears in my doorway holding a stack of pink message slips. 3 calls from the Hendersons, she says. They said they're friends of your parents? And Mr. Blackwell from the Downtown Business Association wants to know if the rumors about vendor trouble with the Montgomery wedding are true. They've been busy, I mutter, taking the slips from her hand. There's more. Sophie hands me a folded section of the Seattle Times, the Morning Society page. A small headline is highlighted. Sources report a mysterious vendor exodus from the upcoming Montgomery-Pembroke wedding, leaving Seattle society wondering what catastrophe has struck one of the season's most anticipated events. I place the paper down slowly, like it might catch fire if I move too quickly. I rescheduled your investor meeting for next week, Sophie adds gently. Rachel thought you'd need time to handle all this. Thank you, I told her. Once she leaves, I cancel 2 more meetings. There's no point pretending I can focus. My phone keeps lighting up with accusations and panicked messages from people who heard my parents' version of the story. The version where I'm unstable, petty, and vengeful. By evening, I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor of my penthouse, my laptop open, city lights glittering like scattered stars outside my windows. My takeout sits untouched beside me as I scroll through an old family video from Clara's 16th birthday. Ava planned everything, Mom says proudly to Aunt Judith in the video, one arm around Clara. She's always been good at little parties. Little parties. That same year, I coordinated a charity gala for 800 guests that raised over $2 million. I pause the video and pull up some old emails. 3 years worth of messages to our extended family show my parents constantly shrinking my achievements. Ava's venue business is doing well, Dad wrote last Christmas. He didn't mention that doing well meant expanding into a 4th state and bringing in almost 9-figure revenue. My phone buzzes. It's Clara. A new Instagram post. A dramatic black and white picture of her engagement ring with a caption. Sometimes the people who should love you the most are the ones who hurt you deepest. Grateful for those who stand by me while selfish people destroy others' happiness for personal gain. Hundreds of comments flood in, hearts, prayers, questions. She doesn't mention my name. She doesn't have to. I open a new document and start typing. Every email, every text, every conversation where I was dismissed, every dollar I paid for her wedding, every contract, every fact. I build a timeline, a long trail of evidence showing the pattern I've accepted for far too long. The next morning, Sophie steps into my office carrying a brown paper bag that smells like cinnamon and butter the moment she sets it down. Your favorite from Meredith's Bakery, she says, pulling out a warm morning bun. You look like you didn't sleep at all. I didn't, I admit, taking the pastry with tired gratitude. Sophie leans against my desk. For what it's worth, I would have uninvited them from my wedding years ago. Her comment catches me so off guard that I almost choke on my laugh, the first real laugh I've had in days. Sophie laughs too, and for a small moment, the heaviness starts to lift. The lightness disappears 30 minutes later when my father's booming voice echoes from the reception area. My family has shown up, unannounced. Their voices fill the hallway as Sophie tries desperately to enforce my closed-door policy. She can't hide from us forever. Dad snaps, footsteps growing closer. My office door bursts open. Dad walks in first, red-faced and furious, followed by Mom and a stone-cold Clara. Behind me, the afternoon sun fills the room, exposing every raw fracture in our family dynamic. What do you think you're doing? Dad demands. I sit back, calm and composed, hands folded on my desk. Exactly what you taught me, I say. Protecting my investments. Mom steps forward, making a dismissive, fluttering gesture with her hand. It's just a silly wedding invitation, Ava. Why are you making such a big deal? We thought you'd be too busy with your project to come anyway. Project? I repeat slowly, tasting the word. Then I reach for my phone. Let me show you my project. I pull up the wedding group chat, the one I was purposely excluded from, and project it onto the wall screen. Message after message fills the wall. Seating charts, floral choices, menus, and then the sentence that freezes all 3 of them. Just put it on our card. We can use Ava's money but say it's from all of us. Mom, she'll never know. She's too busy with those little business ventures. Dad, their faces drain of color as their own words tower over them. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I ask quietly. Or did you just not care? Clara collapses into a chair, staring at the messages as though she's seeing them for the first time. Mom tries to speak, but the words come out thin and weak. We were trying to simplify things, but something inside me has shifted. Looking at them now, shocked, unsure, speechless, I finally see the truth. For years I chased their approval, but I've built something they can't ignore anymore. I don't need their validation to stand tall. The door opens again. Rachel and David step in carrying folders and a tablet. Rachel gives a polite nod, then places a slim portfolio on my desk. The solution you requested, she says. David holds up his tablet, showing photos of the Laurel House, one of my smaller estates. Everything can be ready in the original time frame. We've confirmed availability with all replacement vendors. Dad looks at the 2 of them, then at me like he's suddenly realizing the size and weight of what I've built. You have a team, he says slowly, as if this is new information. A remarkable one, I reply, standing a little taller. And they've prepared a solution that saves the wedding, while keeping my dignity intact. Something none of you even bothered to consider. My executive team lays out the solution with calm confidence, clear, direct, and respectful. They offer what my family never has. Answers instead of demands, respect instead of dismissal. In their presence, I feel my voice grow stronger, my back straighten. When they finish, I pull open my desk drawer and take out a folder stamped with the Montgomery Collective logo. The portfolio I spent all night preparing. It outlines my terms. The Laurel House. 1 day only. Basic services included. I slide the folder across the desk, my counteroffer. As my family stares down at the papers, my phone buzzes. A text. Clara. I look up at my sister across the room. Phone in her hand, eyes locked on mine, intense, almost like when we were kids. I need to speak with you. Alone. I nod slightly. She understands and leaves with our parents. 2 days later, the wind sweeps across the outdoor terrace of Crescent Bay Lodge, carrying the scent of salt and victory. I chose this place on purpose. My crown jewel property, perched above the cliffs, with endless ocean views and quiet luxury that earns 7 figures a year. The perfect setting for a quiet kind of war. Clara arrives 15 minutes early. Her car pulls up the circular drive where David waits to greet her. Through the tall glass windows, I watch her expression shift. First confusion, then awe as she takes in the architecture, the way the building seems to grow from the cliffside itself. Ava. Clara steps onto the terrace, her silk scarf fluttering in the breeze. Her eyes widen as she sees the infinity pool spilling into the Pacific. This is yours. Welcome to Crescent Bay, I say, gesturing to the leather folder on the glass table. Please sit. The ocean crashes below, steady and rhythmic, the soundtrack for what comes next. I open the folder without any introduction. This, I say, sliding the first page forward, is the confirmation from Velvet not removing me from your guest list. Then I slide over a bank statement. And this shows my $60,000 contribution, which, according to Nadine, was presented as a gift with no expectations. Clara's fingers shake slightly as she turns each page. I keep going calm, steady, laying out vendor contracts, cancellation notices, and my email thread with Nadine. All of these vendors pulled out yesterday, I say evenly. The venue is no longer available. Catering, flowers, photography, all canceled. Color drains from her face as the truth settles in. Mom and Dad said you were too busy to come, she whispers. That you had meetings in Portland that weekend. I own the venue, Clara. I own most of the vendors. Did you really think I wouldn't find out I'd been uninvited from a wedding I paid for? Understanding washes over her. How much of this wedding business do you actually control? Before I can answer, the terrace doors fly open. My parents burst in, father's face red, mother right behind him. What do you think you're doing? He snaps, storming toward us. Clara, we've been calling you for hours. I'm showing my sister the truth, I say, standing slowly and picking up the remote. Since you've spent years hiding it from her. Father waves a hand dismissively. This childish tantrum over a wedding invitation. This isn't about an invitation. Behind me, the wall lights up as the hidden screen activates. This is about respect. The Montgomery Collective organizational chart appears. 18 top venues across 5 states, hospitality holdings, vendor networks, revenue projections. Father's mouth opens, then closes. Ava's just pretending to be in business. He tries, turning to Clara. Got lucky with a few properties that. 412 employees, I say, advancing the slide. 18 venues, 8 hotels. Annual revenue, $37 million. This isn't luck, Dad. This is what you refuse to see. Mother steps forward, voice soft. Darling, we always knew you were doing well with your little company, but my little company is worth more than Dad's ever was. The words hit hard, silent, heavy. The insult wasn't the missing invitation, I continue. The insult was spending my money while pretending I didn't matter. Clara stands suddenly. I need you both to leave. Clara, Mother begins. Now. Her voice is sharp, a tone I've never heard from her before. I need to talk to Ava alone. When they leave, the silence feels electric, like the calm center of a storm. Clara turns to me, tears in her eyes. I didn't know any of it. That was the point, I say, closing the folder. They made sure you didn't. The terrace door opens again. This time it's Rachel and David, each holding leather-bound presentations. Rachel nods politely to Clara. Miss Montgomery, we've prepared the contracts for the Laurel House. She sets her portfolio on the table. It's available for your original date. Every M. Zalic vendor, not cappers. David adds his papers beside hers. We've assembled a full vendor portfolio. Everything from your original plan is replicated, adjusted for the new location. We can execute in 21 days. Clara watches them, eyes widening. Miss Montgomery, she repeats softly, realizing they're addressing me with respect, not condescension like our parents always did. Thank you, Rachel. David, I say, gesturing to the chairs. Please walk Clara through the options. As they calmly explain the new plan, I watch my sister's posture shift, sitting straighter, focused, listening. For the first time, she's seeing me not as the overlooked sister, but as the businesswoman our parents never saw. An hour later, my phone buzzes again, mother, father, mother again. Their voicemails have changed tone. No longer demanding, now pleading. Their friends are asking questions about the wedding. Father's business associates are hearing about my success, about Ava Montgomery's empire. Is this real? Clara asks softly when Rachel finishes. You'd really do all this? After everything? The Laurel House is yours if you want it. I tell her. David will handle everything. But we need to discuss terms. The family meeting's tomorrow, I add. She looks at me, eyes full of new understanding. I wonder, should I just restore her original plans to spare her? Or stand firm and finally draw the line? Sometimes mercy feels like weakness, but sometimes real strength means forgiving. The ocean crashes below us, steady, relentless, like the truth itself. Ava, Clara says finally, I'd like to see the Laurel House. I nod to David, who gathers the contracts. This isn't victory, not yet. It's just the first sign of a war that's been building for years. My phone buzzes again. Another call from our parents, now pleading instead of ordering. The balance is shifting. The war isn't over. It's just beginning. The next day, in my headquarters, the family attorney's briefcase snaps open with military precision on my conference table. Father sits across from me, checking his Rolex, again and again. The same nervous habit from when he knows he's losing control. Mother sits beside him, her smile as brittle as her pearls. We've drafted a reasonable compromise, Father says, sliding a paper toward me. You reinstate the original vendors and venue, and we'll make sure you get a proper invitation. I don't touch it. Behind them, the Seattle skyline glitters, a reminder of how far I've come, and how far apart we really are. A compromise means both sides are equal. I say steadily. There's nothing equal about spending $60,000 of my money and excluding me from the event. Mother leans forward, her familiar perfume suddenly suffocating. Think about what people will say, Ava. The family reputation. Apparently, that's worth exactly $60,000, I finished for her. Plus tax. My father's jaw tightens. You've made your point with this little business demonstration, he says sharply. Now it's time to be reasonable. That word, little, hangs between us, heavy and familiar. The same word he's used to shrink every accomplishment I've ever had. Little business. A little hobby. Little Ava, pretending to be successful. I press a button on my phone. Sophie, please bring in the portfolio. While we wait, neither of my parents apologizes. They don't even acknowledge how wrong their actions were. They just sit there, expecting me to give in, like always. My assistant walks in, composed and precise, carrying a leather-bound portfolio. She places it in front of me with the kind of care that says she understands exactly how important this moment is. I open it to the first page. Montgomery Collective grossed $83 million last year. I say evenly, turning the folder toward them. That's about 7 times what your company made in its best year, Dad. His eyes widen, disbelief flickering before slow comprehension sets in. I turn to the next page, a Wall Street Journal profile. I deliberately downplayed our family connection in every interview. I tell them, not because I was embarrassed, but because I didn't want to hurt your pride. I thought it might sting to be known as Ava Montgomery's parents, instead of the other way around. Another page, property holdings. Another, the organizational chart. With each turn, their expressions shift, confusion giving way to shock. I don't need your permission to be successful, I say quietly. I just need your respect to be family. The conference room door opens. Clara steps inside, her eyes red but steady. David stands beside her, silent proof that he's shown her everything. My financial backing, their deception, the empire I've built while they were too busy dismissing me. My terms are non-negotiable. I continue, closing the portfolio. The Laurel House. 80 guests maximum. 185,000. Paid up front. That's outrageous, Father sputters. That's market rate. I correct calmly. Actually, it's a family discount. Clara moves to stand beside me, not them. It's a small gesture, but it shifts everything. I'd like a tour, she says softly. Of everything. 30 minutes later, we're in the main ballroom of my flagship venue. Crystal chandeliers throw light across marble floors that cost more than my father's first house. Staff members approach with questions, all addressing me with the calm respect my family has never given me. Miss Montgomery, the Morrison wedding needs approval on the custom lighting design. Miss Montgomery, Chicago's calling about moving up the acquisition timeline. Miss Montgomery, your investment team is ready whenever you are. Each exchange chips away at my father's certainty. He grows quieter, smaller. Mother drifts toward a display case filled with awards and magazine features, running her fingers over the glass as if seeing my life's proof for the first time. When we reach my office, she spots the only personal item in the whole space. A framed photo from Clara's graduation. The four of us were smiling, my arm around my sister's shoulders. You kept this here? She asks, her voice fragile in a way I've never heard before. Some things matter more than others, I reply simply. Clara steps forward and takes my hands. Her grip trembles, but her voice is steady. I want you to be my maid of honor, she says. Not just a guest, if you'll still accept. The words catch me off guard. Warmth rises in my chest, melting years of quiet hurt. I'd be honored, I say, then add, but only if it's because you want me there. I always did, she whispers. I just didn't know about any of this. About what they did. Our father stands by the window, staring out at the skyline but seeing something else. Maybe all the years he refused to look. When he finally turns back, his expression has softened. We saw what we wanted to see, he says, the words heavy with regret. We never really looked. In the outer office, Mother writes a check for the Laurel House, her hand trembling slightly. No protests. No bargaining. Just quiet acceptance. The power shift isn't because I demanded it. It's because reality finally shattered the story they'd built. Clara hugs me, tears soaking my shoulder. I didn't know, she whispers again. I should have. Over her shoulder, I meet David's eyes. I nod once. Make it perfect, I tell him. Because that's what family does. Even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. They find a way forward. Not by forgetting, but by finally seeing the truth. On the wedding day, sunlight streams through the glass atrium of the Laurel House as I move through the space, giving quick hand signals my team reads without a word. White roses spill from hanging installations, turning the venue into a garden cathedral. Miss Montgomery, my events director says, tablet in hand. The champagne delivery just arrived. Thank you, Colin. Have them use the service entrance and start chilling immediately. My voice carries calm authority. The voice I built from years of being talked over. Then I see them, my parents, entering the grand foyer. Their posture is different now. Careful, almost humble. Dad nods at me across the room instead of giving the usual patronizing pat on the shoulder. Ava, he says simply. Mom walks over, her expression soft and proud, touched with regret. Everything looks absolutely stunning, she says. Thank you, I replied. Let me introduce you to my executive team. I gesture toward the people who've stood beside me through everything. This is Rachel, my chief legal counsel. David, operations director. Colin runs all our Pacific Northwest venues. Mom's eyes widen slightly as each one greets her with a polite Mrs. Montgomery, respectful, professional, but unmistakably loyal to me. Later, crystal flutes catch the light as I rise for my toast. The same relatives who once ignored me at Sunday dinners now sit quietly listening. To Clara and James, I begin. Family is complicated. Legacy even more so. I pause, meeting my father's gaze. You don't build empires out of spite. You build them with vision. Then you decide who gets to share the view. Applause ripples through the room. Clara rises, crossing to me with tears in her eyes and a microphone in her hand. Not just my sister, she says softly. My inspiration. Her words hang in the air, the kind of validation I stopped hoping for years ago. After the toasts, Rachel and David find me on the terrace overlooking the Sound. The sunset stains the water in gold and copper, the perfect frame for quiet triumph. To flawless execution, David says, raising his glass. And bulletproof contracts, Rachel adds with a grin. I laugh, clinking my glass against theirs. You two are more family to me than they've been in years. The words come easily now without bitterness. To boundaries, I add, the kind that builds bridges, not walls. Months later, Sunday dinner takes place in my penthouse, the Seattle skyline glittering outside my windows, the city I conquered one deal at a time. My father leans forward at the dining table I chose for its perfect balance. What do you think about expanding into the Southwest? He asks, genuinely curious. With your model, Arizona could have untapped potential. From the living room, I hear my mother's voice. My daughter, the CEO, she says proudly to her friend, holding up a magazine spread I know by heart. My phone buzzes, a text from Clara. The wedding photos went viral. Every venue tagged with your company's name. Then another message follows. You didn't just fund this wedding. You held it together. I see that now. I look around my home, my family gathered finally on my terms, and I wonder, does reconciliation come from forgiveness? Or from finally being seen for who you truly are? Is it enough that they recognize my success now? Or should real family love be unconditional from the beginning? What would you do? Open your arms completely? Or keep the boundaries that protect the peace you worked so hard to build? What did you learn from this story? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. And guess what? Another amazing story is coming in just a few days. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell, so you'll be the first to know when it's out. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and share it with your friends. Someone out there might really need to hear it. Thanks so much for watching. I truly appreciate your time and support. See you in the next story.